Hello and welcome. This is Getting Started, Intro to the Ohio Collection Analysis Initiative. This is the start of our fall 2024 webinar series. I'm very excited to kick things off here and go over some steps for using these tools and for diving into the initiative. Very quickly, the Collection Analysis Initiative is an initiative from the State Library of Ohio in partnership with Teaching Books, brings ongoing professional development to library staff statewide. So public libraries, school libraries, university libraries, if you're working with children's books, we are providing tools that can help you take a look at the children's and young adult books that you are displaying and sharing and purchasing for your collections, and make sure that those titles are meeting your community needs, whatever those may be. We are always available to support you in whatever way we can. We can answer questions, we can walk you through how to do things, so you can contact us at any time. Erin Kelsey from the State Library, and then I'm Susanna Gilbert, your project coordinator. I have been with Teaching Books for 3 years now, and I'm very excited to dive in with collection analysis this year. So I'm going to pass it over to Erin to talk a little bit about the State Library side of this.
Hi, everyone. I mentioned in the chat, my video is not working and I have no idea why. I was literally just in a meeting with Susanna and Deb 10 minutes ago and it was working. Who knows? The joys of technology. But this black box talking to you right now is Erin Kelsey. And I'm from the State Library of Ohio. I'm the library consultant there and the point person for all things Ohio Collections Analysis Initiative. A quick background about the program. It started over 2 years ago. State Library of Ohio and Teaching Books created this tool for you all from scratch, and we're so proud of it. And we're excited to have you all here today.
Thank you, Erin. And we are also joined by my wonderful colleague, Deb.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Salyer, and I'm one of the training specialists at Teaching Books. I live right here in Westerville, Ohio, and a colleague of Susanna. And I've been with Teaching Books 6 years, but have been a user since almost its genesis, almost 25 years ago. So I'm happy to be here and be your local boots on the ground support also in Ohio.
Thank you. All right. So why should you be using these tools? Why are you going to listen to me talk for the next 45-ish minutes? So the hope is that you will be able to build routines around this program and these tools. Build confidence that titles meet your community needs, providing effective, simple tools to map your collections, personalized plans to carry out the steps that come out of that work, individualized support, as I mentioned, and you get to join a statewide community of colleagues who are also working on this together. So got a few of you here today, and I hope you are excited to do this work together. I am going to duck out of my slides for a second here and go over to Teaching Books. Because let's take a look at what we're doing here. So what is the end product that you're going to get? It's going to be what we call a list or collection analysis report that provides data about your collection. So whatever that may be, a display, books for a program, books you're considering for purchase, books on your recommended lists, books in your classroom collections, whatever that looks like for you, whatever chunk of your shelves you want to take a look at, you will get information both at a glance here. You can see the genres represented, the cultural experiences, fiction versus nonfiction, the percentage of diverse books and award winners, as well as publication year information, even page count and word count, if you're getting really into the nitty gritty of looking at your titles there. And then we have all of that information laid out in lovely little charts and graphs. So you can see this fiction and nonfiction again, a little bit of a wide range of grades there. We've got our recency, cultural experience, genre, curricular area, and then even what's not included. So we will dive deeper into all of this in a second, but I just wanted to give you kind of a little taste of what the information you're going to get looks like and how easy it is to navigate. Right. So what are we doing today? We're going to do a quick overview of how these tools work. We're going to dive in and share with you how to build those lists, how to add titles that meet your needs, find new ones. And then we'll talk a little bit about ways you can share Teaching Books resources, and then we'll have a little bit of time for a Q&A. So what does this look like? You're going to start by picking that subset of titles that I mentioned earlier. So maybe, again, this is you're taking a look at your new books. Maybe it's a themed display. Maybe it's a list of choice books for a class. There's sort of an endless number, but I recommend starting with kind of a smaller set of titles as you get used to using these tools. And then you're going to import them. You can scan them if you've got a barcode scanner, if you've got your phone, you can scan those ISBNs. You can simply search for titles, or we've got some bulk add options where you can paste titles and authors or ISBNs, or even download a spreadsheet from your computer, what is the word I'm looking for? Your OPEC, your library system, and get all of your titles there. Get that spreadsheet from here to a nice little CSV with your title, author, and ISBN information. And that's the kind of thing you can always reach out to us for help. Happy to do that. I love a spreadsheet. I know that not everyone does. All right, and then here we are again. You'll immediately receive all of this information that we just looked at here. And you're able to just take this and turn it into kind of a constant part of your workflow. So coming back again to identifying what you want to look at, what do you need it to look like, and then how can you refine that collection. All right, so back to Teaching Books. You are going to need to be logged in as an educator here. So what that means is that when you go to Teaching Books, you do not want to see Welcome and Ohio Collection Analysis Initiative or a sign up link there. You want to go to Educator Login. You're going to put in your work email. Hopefully this is the email that you use.
Hey, Susanna, I just see the slides.
Oh, great. Let's see what we've got going on there. Well, it's always fun technologically. All right, are we seeing?
There, now I can see it. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, sorry about that, folks. So educator login, you do not want to see Welcome and Ohio Collection Analysis Initiative, or maybe a sign in, sign up link there. If you do see the sign in, sign up, you can click on that and log in as an educator. This is hopefully the email address that you needs to be the email address that you used to sign up for the initiative, so that we can make sure you have the correct access. And then we'll sign in. And now I'm going to see Welcome and my name in the upper left-hand corner, so I know I'm logged in as an educator. But I'm also seeing this Ohio Collection Analysis Initiative landing page. So the site knows that I am part of this initiative and is going to give me a whole bunch of resources all in one place here. So we're going to see a little intro to what we're doing here. You can open up a handbook that is a kind of step-by-step walkthrough of what you need to do along the way with these tools. There we go. Takes a minute to load. But we also have things like a quick start guide that has a much faster walk through some of the steps that I was just discussing. And again, here is that contact information that you can use to reach out to me if you have any questions about how the tools work. And let's create some lists. That's what we're here to do, right? So we're gonna look at small collections today. There is actually no longer a title limit. So you can put more than 200 titles on a list, but I do still recommend starting with smaller groups of titles as you get used to figuring out all the pieces of this. Makes it a little easier to navigate. So Deb, what are some things we need to know here?
Where your mouse is.
That helps.
Okay, so the first thing you've got to do is, and this is new if you've used teaching books in the past, so that you have a good list start. Everybody now starts to make a custom reading list by making up a title. So whatever you want to call it title. So whether it's your read alouds for fall, you can put a description in it or not. It's up to you. Because this is your personal list. Nobody's going to see it but you unless you choose otherwise. But once you do that, then you can do what Susanna said with those quick ads or bulk ads.
All right, so we've got all of our options here. We're going to walk through a few of what those look like. So quick add by book title, you can search any combination of title or author here. So we'll do Ghost by Jason Reynolds.
And notice she said Ghost and then the author's last name, because there are so many books with Ghost. The fastest way, if you've got a common word, is to add the author's name too. Or if you have some uncommon names in the rest of the whole thing, yes. Like Cherry Hill. A strange thing happened on the way to the Cherry Hill. Instead of typing all of that, you can just type Cherry Hill and then boom, it'll find Jasmine's new book.
Oh. Forgot that. Let's do, what do we got? Uh-oh.
Oh, you have to scroll up. Don't ask me why.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see what's going on there.
I don't know what that is.
You can also scan ISBNs here. So you can click on this little ISBN icon and use a camera, so your laptop camera, your phone if you're on one, or you can just click into this box and use a barcode scanner. Deb's got hers. I forgot to get mine, but you can just
hear my little beep,
and it'll pop right up.
Yeah, it's great. And then you just press enter and it's in.
Beautiful. Super easy.
That's great for when you, forgot to make a list and you already made your display.
Yeah.
Or you're standing in a book room and you want to make a list of all the titles in the book room. Then you just have to scan the ISBN, not the barcode, but the ISBN that's generic to that book title. And boom, you've got yourself a list.
Easy. All right, so we've also got some of our bulk add options. So you can paste a list of titles and authors here. So you could type in a whole bunch, import them all at once rather than searching them one by one. You can paste a list of ISBNs, which we're going to do right now to add some titles to this list. So I'm just going to pull my ISBNs here. We'll dump them in there. There's some information here about what this information needs to look like. So there's notes, you can only have one ISBN per row, and you can't have any other information in there. So no spaces, no characters, just the ISBNs here. And we'll import. And this isn't too many titles, so it's going to be pretty quick. So that was 15 items. And it's going to tell us that 13 of those titles are on teaching books with 403 teaching books resources available. There are 2 titles on this that are not on teaching books, but we were able to make an ISBN match for them. So our system can look at those ISBNs and pull title author information. So if we go on here and we continue, we've got all of our 16 titles, those 15 we just added, and Ghost. And you'll see here that we have some that have a little purple asterisk. So there's 2 of those there. And those are going to be the titles that we have the title author information from our ISBN matching, but those are not going to be included in the analysis report we look at in a minute. So that's just something to kind of pay attention to. We can match a lot of titles, but we can't analyze them because we don't know enough about them, unfortunately. So we'll save this. We're going to create one more list because I want to show you how you can upload a CSV file. So we've got our save our name there. It says saved, no items in collection, exactly what we want to be seeing for a new list. And then we can go to the CSV file that I just happen to have saved. And with this is a larger chunk. I think this is about 150 titles. So when that happens, our system needs to take a minute because it has to match those ISBNs. It has to run through all of the information. So you're going to get a note that this is queued for processing. You can hit continue here, and then you're going to see that this is pending in the sidebar here. You will also get an email when it's complete, but for 148 titles, it's not going to take very long. So I'm just going to stay here on this page and wait for that information to refresh. While we're doing that, I'm going to mention that if you have questions that you would like to put in the chat or Q&A, please do that. We will address them at the end, but if you think of them now, please feel free to put those in.
And I'll just add that if you're following along or trying to like create a list while Susanna's presenting and you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, don't hesitate to reach out, or we're going to have some information about office hours at the end of the presentation. So if you want something more one-on-one or in a smaller group or more relaxed, then the office hours and just emailing us is a good option as well.
Absolutely. We can always set up time if you're not able to make it to office hours. And I promise I will not go as fast when I'm demoing things for you then as I'm going right now. All right, so that has been imported here. We can refresh here or right there to see what titles we have. And there we've got 148 titles in our list. We can save that one. So where did these lists go? How can we find them again? Can go to your reading lists in the left navigation bar there, or you can go back to this toggle menu and you'll see your reading lists. And then once you have some, your collection analysis reports. So here's those reading lists. We've got the CSV I just uploaded. We've got our read alouds, and we've got some other lists that I created. So if we go to our read alouds list here, and then you're going to see that little triangle icon for the list analysis report. This is going to be available on any list on the site. So you can take a look at an award list or an SLJ recommended thematic list, and you'll be able to get this same information. So that's a cool thing that we have this information for all of these lists. For lists of your own, I recommend saving the collection analysis report in addition to the list. So you'll see we've got save list analysis report as one of the options here. And we're just going to create a new report here. And that's going to allow us to do a little bit more merging and comparing that we'll get into in just a second. But let's see what we did here. So We've got our 14 titles that we do have analysis information for. There's those 2 titles where we do not have analyzable information, but we do have the title and author. And quick reminder here, you can download all of this as a spreadsheet. So it'll have all of the information from here, plus ISBNs of all of these books, all in one place. That's a great way to share out this information. You can also print the report if you want to have all the beautiful charts and graphs to share, maybe with an administrator. You're saying, hey, look at the difference we would make if we purchased these 10 books, or maybe just for your own records. Again, we've got our at a glance. So we've got 9 genres and 9 cultural experiences here. Promise that was not intentional. It's kind of fun. This is almost completely fiction, but maybe that's fine. Maybe for this particular list, that's what I'm looking for. So none of this information is a judgment on any particular collection, right? It's just telling you what's here. And maybe this is exactly what you want it to be. You want to have those 9 genres, those 9 cultural experiences, mostly fiction. You've got the publication year median you're looking for whatever this is. That's the information that only you have about what your community needs and what the intention of these books, this particular set of books is. But sometimes we find things here that surprise us. So this only has 1 graphic novel. That's pretty surprising. I've been making a lot of lists with a lot of graphic novels on them. We've got 13 award winners. That's more than I would expect, honestly. So that's kind of exciting. But the publication year median, 2012 was a little while ago now. So maybe that's something that I want to address for this particular list. And if we go down and we take a look at that recency year published information here, you can click in and see which titles are where. So if you're wondering, okay, which book do we have from 1952? You can click on that and it's, okay, we're probably not gonna get rid of Charlotte's Web, right? No, but maybe we can add some newer titles here to bring up that publication year median a little bit. We don't have anything newer than 2022, which we might want to fix. All right, and here's our cultural experiences. This is pretty diverse here. We've got some representation, but a lot of these we only have maybe 1 book that falls into that category. So we can definitely explore ways to flesh that out a little bit. If you are curious about how we classify these cultural experiences, there are links to our classification definitions here. I love to read information about classification definitions and collection development policies and all that good stuff, so I find this very helpful. Maybe you will too. And the key thing to note here is that Teaching Books has a very specific definition of what falls into a cultural experience category. So this is going to be books that very specifically address the experience of being that particular culture, being in that particular culture. So a book by a Black author with a Black character might not necessarily fall into this category unless it really touches on that experience. So one of the examples one of my colleagues always uses is a snowy day. So we've got a Black protagonist on the page there, but it's not really about that. It's about the snow and the day and that experience. And so that's not something that would fall into an African-American category on Teaching Books in particular. So if you're looking at these reports and you're seeing things that you're not quite expecting, that might be part of why. Happy to answer any more questions about that if you have them. All right, we've got our genre details, curricular area, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about what we got going on here, Deb.
I was just getting ready to say this is one of my favorite things.
I know
It's
that.
especially right now because I have the opportunity to speak soon, and I don't like to leave anybody out. When you have a little tiny list like 10 titles, 14 titles, somebody's going to be left out. Some curriculum, some genre, some culture, but it's hard to know that. We all make our best efforts, but until you can see it in this case red, sometimes you might go, oh, how can that be? And so teaching books will tell you what cultural experiences are not included in this particular list, and also what genres are not included. And like Susanna has already said, sometimes, yeah, okay, thanks. That's not what this list is for. If it was a list of biography, of course you're not going to have concept books. I work on a State Department list in California, and it's for grades 3 to 5. And every time we look at our list for list analysis and it doesn't have romance, we're like, yay, because we don't really want a romance in 3rd grade. So for us, it's okay if it doesn't have the romance on there.
Right. All about what you're looking for.
But
the wonderful thing is that then you can use this to find books that you might want to use to fill those gaps. So if there is something that you do know you want to have here, we can click into any of these. These are all linked. We can click into these collections to find titles that we might want to add. So,
right, like you could do Asian.
There we go. Let's take a look at this. This is our full Asian collection. So this is a good chunk of titles. Not our Asian American collection, which I think is even bigger, but we've still got a lot to work with here. So how might we narrow this down, Deb?
So we could, since kind of that list we started with falls into upper elementary, early middle, we could do grade bands 5 to 6 maybe.
All right.
So on our left-hand
we've got
side,
our filters here on the left, we can pick 5, 6. So that narrowed it down a good bit there.
We could hit a genre while we're at it.
Absolutely. So do we have any here? We've got some that we maybe don't have as many of. So
and that's the thing to think about too. It might be included, but it might only be one. Like one time I made a list for middle school, mystery was their favorite, and out of 200 titles there was one mystery.
And they're just going to fight over that one mystery.
Right. So we could fix that. So in this case, let's say science fiction or fantasy.
All right. So another thing you can do here that I really love is you notice we had a whole bunch of award winners on that list already. Maybe that's a trend we want to continue. So you can also take a look at different awards here, and maybe we want to pick a particular one, or maybe we just want recent ones. We need some newish books, right? So there we go. Now we're down to 5. It's a little more manageable.
A little more manageable. Oh, like the Hamra. If you read that book, you better eat before you read it, because it is full of Asian food and you'll be starving by the time it's over. But that's my personal book talk for that title.
That is always, that's the worst when you're reading a good food book and you don't have any snacks. So we're going to add that to a list, because maybe that's a title that we're considering putting on this read alouds list, but we're actually going to create a new list here. This is going to be our little titles to add. We'll add that. And then we could add another one here. We can do it with that little one-off plus sign there, or we can do add multiple titles to reading list. We'll see all of the ones on the page, and we can also maybe add, we'll do ghost book there and put that on our titles to add list. All right. What's another way that we can find some titles we might want to include?
Oh, shall we do some filtering before we get to that page?
All right. So if you scroll past not included, you're going to see an adding and reading titles section. And this has a little tool that you can use to pick your filters right here. And the nice thing about this in particular is that it's going to identify which books you already have on this list. So we won't be seeing those ones. So let's pick some filters here.
So in this one, let's choose some more African American.
All right.
And let's do mystery. I just finished one this morning. And
Grade band, what do we want to do?
let's go down a notch. Let's go to 3, 4, because sometimes those we need a little of all of those.
Absolutely.
Depending on
So
how big it is.
there we go. Popped right
30
up. We've got 34 books, and they are crucially not in our Read Alouds 2024 list.
So you don't have to worry about, whoops, you already had that.
Yeah. Which not so much of a problem if you've got 15 titles on a list, but if you're working with 300, then I wouldn't be able to remember all of them. Certainly.
That's a nice little feature, I think. And it also reminds you of what you filtered before you get to the filters.
Yes, it's got it all ready to go. 34 is still a lot. How might we find out more information about these books, Deb, to narrow it down?
So one of the things that Teaching Books also does is every day we add resources to engage readers with the books that they're reading or that they might read or that you're using in your classroom or they choose for independent reading or whatever. So you can, on this filter list on the left-hand side, you can come down to resource type. And one of the things we do many of is go behind the scenes with the author or the illustrator and find out why they created the book. And that's a great way to find out more about the title and decide if that's a book that works for your group, or to help you sell a book that you've already purchased. So if we go to the Meet the Author recordings, we can see that there are 3 super duper titles that we could add to our list.
We're going to take a very quick look here at the Parker Inheritance. It's going to pop us right down to that Meet the Author recording, where we get to hear directly from Varian Johnson about why he wrote the Parker Inheritance, what that experience was like, hear him read a little bit of an excerpt. And it
can be translated into multiple languages. And as I always say, but wait, there's more. You can also use that little red arrow and share that out. And we'll talk about that at the end. So don't go away, because we have a little shareable moment towards the end of our time together.
There we go. So we learned a little bit about that book. We are going to add it to our titles to add list. Oh, you can see it was already on that CSV that I uploaded too. So got it in more than one place. And then we'll just add, well, maybe we'll do the Buried Bones. Some good Sharon Draper there. All right, so what is one more search that we might do here just to get a few more titles in?
So just as an FYI, you could search for any cultural experience if you're trying to be diverse, or you could, again, focus on something you don't have, something that you don't have enough of. Let's say we do LGBTQ. You can either do it from the top, because apparently we don't have any in this list. Or you could use that one where it has add titles. And again, we've got 2,000 titles. We can use our filters on the left with our grade band, maybe back to 5th and 6th. Maybe since people are putting scary things in their front yard in Ohio, we could do horror.
'Tis the season.
It is the season apparently already.
All right, there we go. We've got 5.
Yep.
So that's already pretty nicely narrowed down here. We could learn a little bit more. We can say, all right, this one has 28 resources, 8 awards. Let's add it to our list. Or we can pull this up and we can pick a couple more here and add those as well. So now we have this list. We're going to view this little titles to add September 17th. And we are going to save this list analysis report. We're going to save it to our Read Alouds 2024 and import that. And now we have Read Alouds 2024 version 2. Very fancy. It's now got 21 titles. And we can go in and see what's different here. What did we change? We now have
So
12
you
genres.
you took that first list and
Yes.
you added the 7 titles we narrowed down, and now you have a different list.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we've merged them together, created a super version 2 list, 21 titles, 12 genres and cultural experiences. Fiction, nonfiction is about the same. Our number of diverse books went up. I believe it was about 50% before, and now we're at 67. Award winners went down a little bit, but that's okay. We weren't prioritizing that. And our median publication year went up to 2016. So we have addressed a couple of things here that we knew we wanted to address. So we've got some 23 and 24 books that we didn't have before. We've got more categories here and more books in some of the categories we already had. And then all the way down at the bottom, these lists have gotten a little bit shorter. So we still got some cultural experiences we could go in and include. Some of these genres maybe, but some of these genres, I don't think this is a book where we need concept books, or list where we need concept books. So we're not going to worry too much about that. And again, from here, you could download this spreadsheet. You have the ISBNs for those new books. Maybe you want to find them in your catalog using that information, or maybe you want to purchase them, put them into Baker and Taylor or whoever you're using and pull them up right there. You can also print this again, share it with whoever needs to know about how wonderful you've made this collection. And you can also compare and contrast. So we're going to go to your collection reports here. And you'll see we've got those 2 versions here. So here's our initial report, and here's that version 2 that we created by merging those 2 lists.
This is the part that kind of needs a drum roll. Ta-da.
Here we go, yay! So we know again how many genres represented. I'm not sure why those are not showing up. We will look into that, but it would be telling you what the top 3 are for both of those. Got our top 3 cultural experiences, so those have shifted a little bit there. Fiction numbers, nonfiction. There's that diverse book. So we've only gone up to 67% from 50, but we've also doubled the number of diverse books that we have on this list. So we went from 7 to 14. That's a great jump. Got an extra graphic novel, some more award winners. There's that publication. Our reading levels have stayed about the same, which is exactly what I wanted to see for this particular list. I wasn't really trying to shake that up. And then page count average and word count are about the same as well. So we can go in here, can also compare. I've got some, maybe rather than comparing 2 versions of the same list, you want to compare 2 different years. So maybe this is all the books you've shared in story time, 2 different years. You want to put next to each other and see what you get. So again, we've got that information here. You can see what shifted, what you might want to address. So this is our older list here. So publication median's a little lower, number of diverse books is a little lower. Again, you can use this to track whatever information is going to be helpful to you.
And it's super helpful, like I work with some people who do say their holiday books, like Thanksgiving holiday. We'll talk about that later in the year. And then they make a wish list of what they would like to have. And then in their version 2, they can see the difference, when they compare those 2 lists, and then they can print those out and give them to their administration to say, if I had the funding, look what I could do. Right?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Data is important.
It is. And sometimes you find things in here that just surprised you. Sometimes you don't realize that you're sharing the same books year to year, and you want to shake that up a little bit. And it helps to have that information right in front of you to be able to see it all laid out like that.
Right. I think this is a good combination of like, you all are, doing this work and trying to be thoughtful about creating more diverse lists or just widening the access and to different cultural experiences through the books that we read. So you get the benefits of like pretty easily doing that, filling those gaps, but then also showing the work, like being able to show somebody, even if that's just yourself, just hey, look at all I put in this work, and here's the results of that work. Here's how things have changed. Here's how I've moved the needle, even if it's just a couple percentage points. If that helps a kid see themselves in a book or on a book cover, that's huge. But it can also be used to, justify purchases or show your supervisor that you are doing great work.
Lots of good.
Yes, and um, like Dr. Bishop would tell us, not only the children who who have been underrepresented need to see themselves in books, but also the children who always see themselves need to
Absolutely.
see other people. And this will do it just like that. Some of these books might be not familiar to you. Who has time to read everything, right? And who has time to make sure that it's not just, oh, they're a sidekick, or like Susanna said with Snowy Day. He could be pink with white polka dots and it would be the same story. But we need to read outside our culture too. And it's hard. You just don't have enough time. And none of us wants to leave anybody out. So, and it's so much faster than we just showed you. We've walked you through it piece by piece by piece, but right, Aaron, it's like boom, boom, boom. And you have a list and you're like, whoa, that is so fast.
Well, it's something that the more you do it and the more you play around with this tool, the faster you can get at it and the more intuitive, because it's already really intuitive, but then it can be intuitive to your needs and what you're looking for.
Right. And literally you can do it with your phone. Just you send a shortcut of teaching books and you log in and you say, I'm going to use my phone. And then you can stand in a bookstore. You can stand in the biography. You can stand where your displays are, your face out shelving, and quick. I mean, the pictures that are in this slide deck, I went to the Westerville Library just down the street and just stood right in front of the things with my phone and with my laptop and barcode scanner and beep, beep, beep. Boom, I made a list and
Easy.
go.
And if it's not feeling easy, you can always reach out to us and ask for help. If you're running into obstacles, if your phone doesn't want to scan an ISBN or you're having trouble with a CSV, my job is to help you through that. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. Are we seeing my slide deck again?
Not yet.
Not see it.
All right.
So what Susanna is saying is no wringing of hands.
No.
We always want this initiative to be easy peasy for you. And so we're going to run back through. Here's how it works. Show you a little, but wait, there's more. And then tell you once again how you can reach us and
Absolutely.
let everybody breathe.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Well, this is my favorite part. I think I probably already said this a lot, but this is one of my favorite things is I talked about the sharing. So all those resources like the Meet the Author recording, the audiobook excerpts, the book talkers, anything that makes a sound, you can use that little share arrow and you can make these little shelf talkers on your displays. And so not only can you just give it to somebody right away and know about those books, but you can also engage your patrons or your students, your readers with those books by putting them on the books, putting them inside the books, and even putting them in unusual places. If you have a window with a little shelf, like this is just rigged up in a library where they can't come inside all the time. And so students will actually use their phones and scan those QR codes to listen to a book trailer or listen to the author. And so, boom, they're walking in the door I want that book that's the third one on the right. And the book is checked out, which is, what we want. That's why we do displays to
Yeah.
bring
I also
attention.
think these could be great in those like book vending machines that libraries have when if there's not an access point close by or if it's
That's a great
after
idea.
hours, like what a great way to say like, would I like this book? I don't have to Google it. I can just scan
Yeah.
that QR
Yeah.
code and get a
That
glimpse
kind of
into it.
Yeah, you can figure
passively
it
does
out
And
before you even
already.
hold it in your hands.
whenever I see these resources, my brain just explodes with so many programming like extensions and ideas. I come from a public library background, so I'm just thinking about, you do a program about for Christmas or for the hall for anything. You always have a little table of books that people can check out that's related to your program. You can
Right. Or
have
you make a
these
list
resources or you make a
Oh,
list and then
and you
these
use a bookmark.
resources are here for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
there we go. And if you want to learn more about the power of teaching books resources and how they fit in with collection analysis, we will be talking about that in our December 12th webinar. So we have a few coming up the rest of this fall series here. If you've got people who are already in process with the initiative using these tools, or if you're feeling like you've really immersed yourself and you want to dive a little deeper, we've got our Dive Back In refresher on October 8th. We're going to talk about another tool that we have available for selecting books, learning more about them, which is our book resumes. We'll talk about in November how to do larger collections. So, we had our biggest one was about 148 today, but what if you have thousands of titles that you're trying to take a look at? So we'll talk about that. And then again, yes, Power of Teaching Books resources. Deb just shared that link there with a full schedule. It's got the registration links and everything. We also have office hours. So Tuesdays, October, November, December, alternating weeks kind of situation, either at noon or at 3. You can see that schedule on that same webinar schedule that Deb just shared, but you can always just hop onto teachingbooks.net/Ohio Zoom at that time. It's just a casual drop-in, no question too big, no question too small, a chance to work through anything that is a sticking point, or just chat a little bit about how you've been using these tools and what you're hoping to do next. And Erin and I will be there to provide whatever support we can.
And those are not recorded, so you can
No.
come and freely share or ask questions.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned previously, if none of that works for your schedule, you can still just reach out to us directly. We've got Erin's contact info, my contact info, and we're happy to answer questions, support, get on a Zoom call or a phone call and demonstrate anything that you want to see again. So, happy to provide any of that support. So thank you for being here today. If you haven't registered for the initiative yet, got another chance here with this QR code. I hope you do. You'll be able to access these tools, all of our support, and also get some fun support materials and information about webinars and office hours. So thank you again for your time, and please ask any questions that you have.